Good evening, everyone. My name is Vishnu Latish. I'm the Regional Manager of IACC West India Council. I welcome you all to today's session, IACC's Thursday Insight webinar titled Investment, Residency, and EB-5 Sunset Conversation. This is presented in collaboration with IACC Greater Houston, Texas. This critical topic, which focuses on understanding the US EB-5 Immigration Investor Program, its potential corridors to permanent residency and critical implications of the upcoming sunset. Our discussion aims to provide valuable legal, commercial, and practical insights for the potential investors. Today, we are joined by exceptional panelists of experts to navigate this complex terrain. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. Charles Foster, our eminent speaker, chairman of Foster LLP. Foster LLP is one of the largest global immigration law firm. He is the honorary consul general of Kingdom of Thailand. He has served as a trusted immigration policy advisor to US Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. He is the past national president of American Immigration Lawyers Association and the past chairman of Asia Society Texas Center. Mr. Foster is consistently recognized as the top immigration lawyer in Texas and was prominently featured in the film Mao's Last Dance. Mr. Dipesh Deshmukh, our speaker, founder of D Square Global Private Limited, is an expert in international immigration and global residency solution, helping individuals and families migrate to countries such as US, UK, Canada, Europe, Australia, and the UAE. He is the founder of D Square Global Private Limited India and DD Global Consulting Dubai, with a strong focus on helping clients achieve long-term migration, residency, education, and business expansion goals through personalized and strategic solutions. With an MBA from the US, he's lived in Boston for over 8 years. Dipesh brings along both professional and personal international experience to the field of global mobility and investment migration. He also serves on the committee of IACC West India Council, actively contributing to strengthening business and international relations between India and the United States. Mr. Manoj Balwani, our moderator for the day and Vice President of IACC West India Council. He is a certified AI generalist and an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. Mr. Balwani is a four-time entrepreneur and a professional management consultant. He currently serves as a startup evaluator and a mentor for premium institutes, including IIT Bombay, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Along with him, we have our Vice President, Mr. Tejendra Oberoi, renowned IT entrepreneur and a former chairperson of ICC Gujarat branch. Mr. Oberoi brings with him over 32 years of experience in IT, telecom, and industrial sales. He currently serves as the executive director of Signet Infotech. Before we begin this core discussion, I must direct your attention to an important disclaimer. This webinar is for a educational and information purpose only. The information shared is based on the current legal, regulatory, and market condition and is subject to change without prior notice. Please do consult with your legal financial advisor for personalized guidance regarding the specific situation. And now, to have the formal welcome note, I would like to invite Mr. Oberoi. Mr. Oberoi, over to you.
Thank you, Vishnu. So good evening, everyone, and good morning to those who are joining us from US. On behalf of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, West India Council, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all today to this exclusive IACC Thursday Insight webinar on EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program and Emerging Pathways for Investment-led Residency Opportunities in the United States. in collaboration with IACC Greater Houston. At IACC, our constant endeavor is to create meaningful platforms that facilitate knowledge sharing, global business perspectives, and strategic engagement between India and United States. In today's rapidly evolving global environment, topics related to cross-border investments, mobility, and international opportunities have become increasingly relevant for entrepreneurs, business leaders, investors, and professionals alike. We're truly honored to have with us an esteemed panel of experts and speakers who bring with them deep industry knowledge and practical insights on the subject. I'm confident that today's session will offer valuable clarity, current perspectives, and a better understanding of the opportunities and considerations surrounding the EB-5 program. I'd like to extend a special welcome to our speaker, Mr. Charles Foster, who joins us from from Houston, Texas. Mr. Dipesh Deshmukh, who joins us from Mumbai, for taking their time to share his valuable insights with us. I'd also like to welcome our moderator, Mr. Manoj Balwani, Vice President, IACC WIC, for moderating today's discussion. To all our attendees joining us from different sectors and regions, we welcome you to today's webinar. Your participation and engagement makes these sessions meaningful and impactful. I hope today's webinar provides you valuable takeaways, practical learning, fresh perspectives that you can apply within your organization and professional journeys. Please feel free to put up your questions in the chat box or question and answer window, and we'll be happy to take them near the end of the seminar. And if there are any questions that require us to address, we are not able to take up, we'll definitely try and see that we are able to address them to you separately. I once again welcome you all and wish you a highly engaging and insightful session ahead. Thank you. Over to you, Manojji, for taking this.
Thank you, Vishnu, for that kind introduction, and thank you, Tejinder, for setting such a pristine stage for today's discourse. Good evening to all our participants from India, and a very good morning to our friends joining us from the United States, especially the IACC Greater Houston chapter. Welcome to another high precision edition of the IACC Thursday Insights. When we talk about Indo-US Business Corridor, we often look at it through a lens of institutional capital, trade policies, and macroeconomics. But at its core, I think the most dynamic engine of this corridor is human capital. The founders, the executives, the brilliant students, and the families who move across borders to build futures. Now, having spent decades partnering with CXOs and scaling businesses internationally, I know firsthand that navigating cross-border pathways require more than just financial readiness. It requires surgical regulatory foresight. Today, the landscape is shifting rapidly. The impending September sunset conversation surrounding the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program has introduced a critical layer of urgency for global citizens. We are not here today to talk about immigration in the abstract. We are here to talk about strategic timelines, risk management, and capital preservation. So to break down this complex operational reality, as Vishnu mentioned and Tejinder mentioned, we have a formidable panel comprising Mr. Charles Foster and Mr. Dipesh Deshmukh. Without spending much more time, and just quickly, I would like to remind about two quick housekeeping notes for our attendees. One is that we will reserve the last 10-15 minutes for Q&A. So drop your questions. In case we are unable to answer all of them, don't worry. We will coordinate with the panelists post-event and ensure we circle back to you with answers in the coming days. I'll just remind everyone of the disclaimer that Vishnu mentioned. Immigration rules keep changing. The facts of individual case keep differing. So please seek independent professional counsel before making any financial or legal commitments. And with that, let's begin. Charles, I'd like to turn to you first to set the legal baseline. Maybe I'll request you to spend the next 3 to 4 minutes giving us a primer about the United States EB-5 Investor Program and its impending sunset. Over to you, Charles.
Well, thank you, Mr. Balwani. It's a pleasure to join you from Houston, Texas. It's early in the morning here, but it's always a pleasure to work with the Indo-American Chamber, be it here in Houston or in India. And I think the significance of the topic is it's not an abstract topic. There's a certain percentage of people, as you mentioned, Mr. Balwani, that for business or other reasons will want to have cross-border transactions, that will want to immigrate. And to immigrate to the United States, we have a very restrictive legal immigration system. And you could say if you do not have a close immediate relative like a spouse, adult child, or parent, it can be very difficult. The Indian nationals are the largest immigrant group to the United States from Asia. The largest immigrant groups, of course, would be from Mexico, because Mexico is right here on our southern border. But Indian nationals comprise the largest immigrant group from Asia, which I think is very significant. I think in the Houston alone, the Indian immigrant community is several 100,000, just to give you an example. And the significance of the EB-5 program is if you do not have that close relative, because there have been so many very talented Indian nationals that have immigrated through employment, the backlog under the quota employment-wise could be 20 years. So effectively, if you're sitting in India today, or if you're in the US on a temporary work visa and you want to immigrate to the United States, the EB-5 program is the only way to do that. Currently, there's absolutely no backlog under the quota for certain types of EB-5 investment, no backlog, as opposed to at least a 20 years, some say 30-year backlog through employment. So that's a situation that uniquely applies to Indian nationals. So if you're sitting in India or here, and for whatever reason you want to immigrate, then your only choice is to either immigrate through an EB-5 regional center that is investing in a third-party program, or investing in starting your own business in conjunction with a relative, friend, or on your own. We can talk about the advantages and disadvantages of doing both ways. And just to pick up on what you said, Mr. Balwani, unfortunately, this program effectively, it's always had a sunset provision. And the sunset provision is September 30th, 27. But under the law that was enacted in 21, any petition filed prior to September 30th, 2026, within a few months, is grandfathered, meaning that we know with certainty what law applies. It is possible that come September 30th, 27, there will be legislation that will extend the EB-5 program in one form or the other, but it could also change the requirements retroactively to September 30th, 2026. So if you're thinking about immigrating to the United States through the EB-5 program, the safest way to do it from a legal and practical point of view is to make sure you make the appropriate decisions in time to have the petition prepared and filed timely prior to September 30th, 2026.
Okay, thanks, John. So in summary, what you're suggesting here is that if you want a sure shot result, maybe you should apply before September 30th, 2026 itself. Did I understand that correctly?
Absolutely, because if you
Okay.
follow that date, we know exactly what legal provisions, statutory, regulatory provisions apply. It is technically will be possible to apply for 1 year longer, but that regulatory statutory scheme could be changed, and
Got that.
there's a risk that you could apply and find out that in the interim you no longer qualify. So to be safe, anyone thinking about immigrating to the United States through the EB-5 program should make sure that they act timely and have their petition filed prior to September 30th, 2026. And it takes time to make those decisions, to gather the documents, to show a lawful source of funds. So you cannot wait until September the 15th to start. The sooner the better.
Right, right. Okay, so I was thinking that maybe, of course, many of the people who have joined this webinar uh, had already got some idea about what exactly this EB-5 program is, and they just came in here to get to know more about the sunset provision, right? But there may be some in our audience who don't even have a basic idea about what the EB-5 program is. So for that, I think if I can request you, Dipesh, to just give us a primer on what exactly is this EB-5 visa program, Dipesh?
Sure, sure. So EB-5 program was started sometime in early 90s, and the whole focus was to create 10 American jobs. So each investor has to create 10 American jobs, and that is the reason United States is giving the green card to the family. So a lot of people say, oh, US wants money, and that is why they are giving this green card. Not at all. It is an investment that you're making, and you're going to get this back in 5 years or whatever the time frame that's decided. US gets, I think, about $6,000 or less in fees. That is the only money US government gets by the way. So I just wanted to clarify that it's nothing to do with US wants money, and that's why they are giving green card. So this program, in very simple terms, is you invest $800,000 in a project. The developer will make some construction. It will take whatever 2-3 years to construct. In 1 or 2 years, depending on the kind of project that you've invested, you will get a green card. When I'm saying you, it's husband, wife, and all children, dependent children under 21. So in 1 or 2 years, you'll get the green card, and in 5 years, give or take, you are supposed to get your money back. So that is the program, and it is currently, I mean, people are going crazy because they know that if they want a green card, either they wait for 20, 30, 50 years if EB-5 doesn't exist, or they have these 4 months and they can get it in a couple of years.
Right. So you mentioned that the US gets merely $6,000 odd from that entire
rounded off, it's less actually.
Less. But thinking like how Indians would typically think, when I invest any money, I'm looking for at least the interest on that money, right? So the question to you is, when you get that money back in 5 years, do you get it with interest or without? Because then that becomes a cost to the investor.
Of course, yes. So my frank suggestion to my clients is, do not treat EB-5 as a money-making machine. There are several kinds of projects. The good projects, the good developers will give you 0.25% per annum return. Now, these are developers who can actually go to a bank and get from a bank 4-5% return, interest rate, right? So they will not come to you and give you 4 or 5%. There are EB-5 projects in the market that give you 4 to 6% per annum return. I personally run away from them because they can definitely be dangerous, because they can happily go to a bank and get this at a lower interest rate. Why will they want to do so much effort of getting your green card? Because too much paperwork is involved, too much reporting to the US government is involved if the developer is doing a EB-5 project. So the top projects will give you around 0.25% per annum. Do not expect anything more. The moment there are higher returns, assume there are higher risks.
So what that tells me is that this is not guarantee. It doesn't come with a sovereign guarantee of any sort. This is more like it's risk money, and you may or may not get it back. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Depending on who the developer is.
Yes. So first thing, the law says that the money has to be at risk. It does not say the money has to be at 100% risk. It could be at 1% risk as well, right? So
Okay.
later in the session, I mean, tell you guys how I look at projects to mitigate that risk. But by law, the money always has to be at risk. But again, the way
Okay.
I evaluate certain projects, I can tell you, later on what I do
Sure.
to make sure the risk is minimized.
Great, great. Okay. So we'll turn back to Charles. Charles, can you suggest any other less expensive ways that a would-be Indian national who wants to immigrate to the United States should first consider before he can consider an EB-5 program? Yeah.
Well, that's something that we do for our clients naturally. We look at all the options before we get to the EB-5 preference because I realize that no one likes to put that much money at risk. But unfortunately, again, we have a restrictive system. So unless, as a practical matter, unless someone has an immediate relative, that is a spouse, an adult child, or parent, that is a U.S. citizen, or in some cases, a legal resident. By the way, a person obtains lawful permanent resident. The term green card is just a colloquial term. It doesn't really exist in the law. When foreign nationals were first required to register in the United States during World War II, the card they received was green, so people referred to it as getting your green card. But so really, unless you have that family relationship, the EB-5 program is the only way because
Okay.
immigrating through employment, again, it could take 20 or 30 years. But I would like to clarify one thing. You can have what we call a direct EB-5. We've probably done over thousands of these cases successfully. And a certain percentage, probably 10, 15%, will be Indian nationals that will want to establish their own business. And the minimum investment amount is $1 million. You only get to the $800,000 if the project is located in a targeted economic area that is a high unemployment area or a rural area. And what Deepish is referring to is that when the program was enacted in 1990, which I was very involved, I worked with the chairman of both the Immigration Subcommittee in the Senate and the House and testified before the House. There were very few applicants. So the program was amended to allow entities called regional centers to have a project through which third parties could invest. So you can invest in a third-party regional center. And as you pointed out, and as Deepish mentioned, that is at risk. In other words, if you're not careful, you could lose your money. In theory, you could still gain your permanent residency, your green card, but if it's a bad investment, you may never get your money back. So there's a variety of ways, and I think there's no guarantee. The best way is to work with a regional center that has a track record of developing a project successfully within the timeline and returning the investment to their EB-5 investors on a timely basis. And fortunately, there are a number of developers and regional centers that have a good track record that we work with in that regard.
All right. So then maybe can it be safely said that the primary advantage of making a direct EB-5 investment in your own business, the direct advantage is that you don't stand the risk of losing that money stays with you throughout? Is that the only sort of advantage of doing a direct EB-5 investment?
This is what I tell clients. There's a certain percentage of clients that are motivated to immigrate and stay here precisely because there's a business that they want to develop. They want to implement. That's what they're going to do. And if they're going to do that anyway, we try to work with them to make sure that the investment that they're going to do in any event can be structured in a way that they can qualify through their own business. On the other hand, I caution clients that if their primary purpose is just to get their lawful permanent residency, their green card, then investing through a reputable EB-5 regional center project has a huge advantage. The advantage is many of those projects are already completed. You can, if you know what you're doing, you can invest with a developer that is very successful, and you can minimize your risk. The worst thing to do is if you don't know what you're doing, is to start your own business for the sole purpose of trying to get your residency. But if you're motivated anyway, if you're coming here or if you're here and through your own experience or through the experience of your good friend or member of your family, that there's a business project that appears to be viable, then a direct EB-5 project may be the way to go. But in every case, we verify that the location of the project is in a targeted economic area, so that the investment amount is $800,000 rather than the base requirement of $1 million.
Right, right.
And
So,
I would quickly like to add something. So
Sure,
Charles
Dinesh.
rightly pointed out the difference. One addition that I want to mention is there are two kinds of risks. One is money risk, and second is immigration risk. A lot of people only think that will I get my money back, and people don't think will I even get a green card. When it comes to direct investment, and let's say they start a business and they are not able to create those 10 American jobs, or they are not able to comply with the USCIS regulations, forget the money, they will not even get a green card. That is a bigger risk.
Oh, okay.
Right? Whereas a regional center program, we know the simple math that there is a RIMS model, which of course Charles can elaborate on later on. But based on how much money is getting invested, job creation formula is already set. So before even they start construction, we know how many jobs are going to get created. So this is less risky compared to a self EB-5. And of course, as Charles mentioned, if they are self-motivated and they genuinely want to do something, a good company setup and all, then they should look at it. Otherwise, just from the money safety, it's not a great idea.
Yeah, understand. So I think it looks like a no-brainer to me, at least, that one is that you spend you invest $200,000 less, because in a direct investment you do $1 million, whereas here you do 800,000. Plus, it's a more passive way of getting it, so you don't have to really put in any additional effort, of course, as long as you select. So coming to selection of a project, right? Dipesh, what are the common mistakes that investors make while selecting a project?
So I'll talk about mistakes in a bit. First, I'll tell you what they should look at. As Charles also mentioned, very rightly so, that they should look at the track record of the regional center, and also the track record of the developer that they are working with. Right? Because like I personally work with top 5 to 7 regional centers in the US, and there are hundreds. Now, just because the regional center is amazing, what if the developer that they are working with today is not amazing, right? So we look at the track record of the regional center, and then we also see what the developer has done in life, how many projects in general they have done. Have they done any EB-5 projects? If yes, have they created enough jobs? Have they given money back? Have they given, green cards were issued? All of that. So these are basic things that we will look at before we transfer money. Also, there are certain things that we look at where I'll just give you a scenario so it'll just become easy. Imagine we bring 100 people together, each puts $800,000. Now this is $80 million. We go to a developer and we say, you're doing a construction worth $300 million. Here is $80 million loan against the collateral of your property. Now here, the money becomes safe because now it is secured by a collateral. Not all EB-5 projects are secured by collateral. Right? So these are some things that we as advisors look at when we recommend projects to our clients. So these are some safety precautions. There is some interesting thing called capital stack, where typically 3 people put money in the project. And these are very important things. People have no idea how this works. 3 people put money in. First is either a bank or an investor company. Second is group of EB-5 investors. And third is developer himself. A lot of times you've seen the developer hardly puts any money. which means he has no skin in the game. So obviously, we want to identify projects that have enough developers' money. Second thing, when the time of repayment comes, an ideal capital stack is where first the senior lender, the bank or the investor will get the money. Second is the group of EB-5 investors. And the last right to take money out is of the developer, which means that the developer will not make any money unless he repays you. This again gives you one safety net, that peace of mind. Again, in EB-5 world, the reverse capital stack also can happen where the first right to take money out is of the developer. If there is any money remaining, you will get it, right? So again, the analysis of these details, this is what makes your investment.
Wow, that's a brilliant suggestion, and it's really good to know. I mean, it's a revelation to me, really, that this kind of collective bargaining is also, in some ways possible. And there are people like you who kind of, would you be acting as the aggregator here in that case,
Yes,
bringing these 100 people together?
I do. No. So the aggregator is the regional center. All right. Out of those 100, I will put 10, 20. But I please analyze the projects. I see what is the capital stack. I see. Because if people directly go to the regional center or they come to an advisor like me, they are going to spend the same money. They are not saving any money. But at least I will give them a breakdown of the capital stack, how the investment is happening, job creation. If you go to any regional center directly, they'll say we are the best. And they'll say, here is an agreement, you can read it. Now the agreement is 3,000 pages. You don't understand how to or what to look at, right? So that is my job, and that is how I advise my clients. So I will look at 20, 30 projects, and I will advise only 3 or 4.
Okay. So now let's just step back for a minute. Charles, this question is for you. It's a bit more of a general question, really. So, given the news reports from the United States regarding increased immigration enforcement, impacting a variety of, immigrant communities in different immigration statuses, are immigrants from India still welcome in the United States? And is it safe for Indian nationals and their family to emigrate to the US?
That's a good question. I would like to clarify one thing. A direct investment can also be at $800,000, but just in a very simple one sentence, the regional center, investing through a regional center tends to be very predictable, again, because we work with all regional centers, and you can see which the success rate, and many of these projects are, you don't have to worry about whether they're going to be completed because they're already completed. Down on, as to your question, yes. Of course, the news, whether it's in India or in the United States, is always going to focus on the the car accident, not the fact that most people drive their cars safely and never have an accident. So clearly there have been issues, and I've been very involved with that, particularly the Trump administration. I'm a big critic because of their enforcement policy. The enforcement policy is primarily focused on undocumented immigration. There's an estimated 14 million individuals that are in the country undocumented. And I've worked, as was indicated, I've worked for 2 presidents of the United States on what we call comprehensive immigration reform to deal with that issue in a more constructive fashion. But the focus of your question is, it's safe for Indian nationals to immigrate? Are they welcome? And the answer is absolutely. The U.S. is a very welcoming country. No better evidence of that is look at just some recent development. Our largest university in the state of Texas, certainly in Houston, the chancellor of that university is Renu Khator. She was an immigrant from India, and yet she heads the largest university system in the state of Texas. The wife of the vice president of the United States, J.D. Vance, his wife, Usha, is an immigrant from India. When Kamala Harris ran for president, she was characterized as an African American, but she was really Indian American. She was raised by her Indian-American immigrant mother, prominent doctor, and she almost became president. I supported her. The nominee for governor of the state of Ohio is Vivek Ramaswamy. He is an Indian national. So Indians, and if you look at Fortune 500 companies, businesses, Indian nationals play a big role. So there is no discrimination. Indian immigrants are welcome. They play a big part, particularly in the area of research in many institutions here in the United States.
Great. I guess that's a very comforting answer, and that allays a lot of fears and apprehensions of maybe some of the listeners on this webinar, because I think what you are trying to say here is that only those who are undocumented immigrants are the ones who are unsafe or unwelcome or subject to any kind of risk. So that's really great. And of course, we know the fact that, as you said, so many of the luminaries and top officials, whether it's in government organizations or in private entities, are Indian immigrants. So that's really, that's right out there for everyone to see. So I guess that takes care of that apprehension. Yeah. Now I'll just turn to, sorry.
I would like to just add a sort of a personal note here in Houston, Texas. It was just a few years ago that we filled up our largest sports stadium in what we called Howdy Modi. Your prime minister came here, and I think we had 70,000 Houstonians turn out to welcome him, and the entire political establishment of the state of Texas was on stage with him, as well as President Trump flew down from Washington to welcome your prime minister to the city of Houston.
Yes, I remember that very vividly. I saw the reports of that on TV several times, and that was a really stupendous event, I would say, and it reflects the kind of welcome and the warm attitude of Americans towards Indians here. Okay, I'll quickly turn to Charles. I'll turn to President Trump's Gold Card program for a few minutes. If you can just help us understand, both from an economic as well as a legal point of view, what do you think would be the advantages and disadvantages of that program?
Well, as a lawyer who deals with these issues every single day, I would think anyone that would, let me just say this, I think it would be a very bad decision to invest in President Trump's Gold Card program. Like many things the president does, and fortunately here in this country, I can openly criticize him, as I regularly do. He made that up, the Gold Card, just without any legal basis. There is no statutory regulatory basis. So there'd be two good reasons to forget that, not even to consider it at all. One, it's more expensive, and it's a gift. It's $1 million, it's a minimum $1 million, and there's no pretense, there's no possibility you would ever get a penny back, period. As discussed under the Regional Center Program, if you make a wise investment, after approximately it can be structured as a loan, and after 5 years, you have the real possibility. In our case, almost every one of our clients have always been able to recoup their funds. So why would you spend $1 million, make $1 million gift, when you can make an $800,000 investment with a very with a great possibility, not a guarantee, but with a great possibility of having that refunded with interest. The other reason you would not want to do that is it's legally unsound. There is absolutely no basis. And currently there is a lawsuit in federal court to enjoin that program. So you could wind up making that investment for a Gold Card. Yes, you'd get a pretty card with President Trump's photo on it, but it could be worthless if the courts find, which is clear, legal point of view, it is unlawful. The president would have to go to Congress to have that program enacted, which he failed to do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Also,
Okay, so
sorry, Manoj, one more
yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to add. A difference, $800,000 in EB-5 gives the green card to husband, wife, and all dependent children under 21. The gold card is $1 million donation to the US government per person of the family. So if it is
Oh,
husband, wife, and 2 children, it's $4 million donation,
whoa.
right? So that's crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So, is it just, I mean, coming to the $800,000 that one has to invest, right? My question really is that the only criteria? I mean, if you just have the money, you can pay your way through, or are there any other criteria that the person needs to meet to be able to even become eligible from a personal standpoint?
If I could answer that, yeah, there's a
Sure,
whole
sure,
set.
Charles.
Okay. Yes, there's a whole number of other issues. A person could be excluded for a number of reasons: prior visa fraud, criminal record. The
Okay.
investment must meet all the criteria, the job creation in a viable business. So, and I think the big one is what we call a lawful source of funds. It's just not
Hmm.
$800,000. You must show the funds that you earned those funds, you borrowed the funds, they were gifted to you, or any combination. And
Hmm.
you can if you say you earn the funds, you've got to be able to show how those funds were made, and that the source was lawful. And that can be a big part of the case. But we spend a lot of time on what we call source of funds.
Right, right. I think we have adequate clarity now on what the EB-5 program is and what are the precautions that an investor should be taking, and many other circumstances and rules surrounding that. Now, maybe we can probably spend, Dipesh, I'll turn to you for this one because you're the practitioner, right? And who's doing this, sitting in India for Indians, right? So, my question is, in terms of next steps, right? What would be your advice to families considering EB-5 if they want to file before September 2026? And what should they be doing immediately after this session if they are indeed serious about the EB-5? Yeah.
They should just talk to me and Charles after this session.
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
All right.
Yeah, that was really
So,
quick.
so as Charles mentioned right in the beginning, that it takes 1 to 2 months for the attorneys to prepare your case. It depends on how complicated your source of funds are. If it is clean,
Hmm.
you will get it in like 3 weeks also. But typically, we've seen with Indians, especially in business for themselves, it can take 1 to 2 months for the source of fund paperwork. Now, if
Okay.
somebody says, okay, I have 4 months, I'll figure out. Very dangerous. Also, people say, I want to see the best project first. No point. You need to retain an attorney first by paying whatever advance that the attorney charges. You start the paperwork, start the documentation, start the source of fund. Getting your project is an easy part. I do it day and night. But the
Hmm.
time consuming part is working with the attorney. So the next step has to be talking to an attorney, retaining the attorney, and starting the paperwork. A lot of people try to work it backward. They think that I first show me the best possible project. What's happening today is everybody knows EB-5 is sunsetting, especially people who are in the US on H-1B visa. They know that there is no other hope. Kids who are on F-1, suddenly, number of filings have increased. So today we have more people with $800,000 ready to transfer. So if I show you a project today, in a week, 10 days, it will get sold out. And attorney is going to take 1 month to work with you. So my frank recommendation is talk to the attorney first. Of course, you can talk to me and I will guide you and all of that. But you need to retain an attorney, not just talk by paying the advance. Start the paperwork. Project will come as a second step. Charles,
Got it.
any other suggestion that comes to you?
No, I think starting as soon as possible And because particularly with the source of funds, that can take time, as well as the decision-making process on if you're investing in an EB-5 regional project. We're not licensed broker-dealers. For ethical reasons, we cannot tell you, invest in this project. We can, as the piece said, we can bring to your attention a number of projects that are in the market where we have worked with the developers and we believe they are reputable. But in the end, it's the investor that has to make that decision. And it all takes time. So the sooner you start, the better.
Yes.
Right. Okay, great. So I think what we'll do now is we just have about 14 minutes left. And I think what we'll do is we'll take some questions now. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to leave it open to either of you or both of you if you want to chip in here to answer these questions. The first question we have is from Krishna Kumar Ramachandran. And his question is, we are planning to form a JV with a US partner with 50-50 ratio on investment for setting up a manufacturing plant in USA. In this case, how much investment from our side is required for getting a green card? So I'll repeat, they want to do a 50-50 ratio on investment in this joint venture. And that's why maybe the question is more around whether this $800,000 will be entirely paid by them or will it be shared by the JV partner as well? Maybe that's the question.
I think it's clear they have to make the 2 points. They clearly have to make the $800,000, and as Dupesh says, that includes the family. And 50-50 is fine. There's no particular percentage. In fact, in most regional center projects, the investor might own less than 1%. So the 50-50 works, but the individual must make the $800,000 investment. And you must make sure that it's located in a targeted economic area. If not, it's $1 million.
If not, it will be $1 million. Okay. So if it's not in a targeted, if this joint venture is not in a targeted economic zone, then that 800,000 will increase to $1 million.
Correct.
All right. Okay. That's great. We come to the next question. Actually, this one is a short answer and it's already been answered in any case. This gentleman, Sandeep Mukherjee, wants to know how much time does it take for an EB-5 green card holder to get US citizenship? I think, Charles, you answered that. One of you answered it. It could take anywhere between 18 to 24 months. Did I understand that correctly?
No. Charles, over to you. Charles will explain.
Okay.
Yes. The question has to do with citizenship, but to go through the process, if you're here in the United States, most likely you would want to do that through adjustment of status. If you're in India, you would wind up going to your final interview at the appropriate American consulate or at the embassy in New Delhi. And all of that, getting the petition approved, going through the National Visa Center, being scheduled, would clearly take at least 24 months or longer. And when you say
okay,
that,
so the question, I'm sorry. So the question was US citizenship. So I think that's a second step after getting the green card, right? That's why it may take longer. Right.
That would be 5 years after. Well, once you become a lawful permanent resident, you have your so-called green card. 5 years later, you can qualify for U.S. citizenship, assuming no adverse record, and you resided a majority of your time physically in the United States.
Okay, so it will be approximately, I'll repeat that, approximately 24 months for the EB-5 green card, and then approximately 5 years after that for becoming eligible for the US
5 years or
citizenship.
more.
5 years or more, right? So as I said, approximately. Okay.
Approximately can be less also.
So let's put it as minimum.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is from Yvonne Roberts. She wants to know about the timelines for a direct EB-5, can that differ? Just like we said for the regional center $800 million program, it could take a minimum of 24 months. So for a direct EB-5, is the timeline the same?
A quick answer is yes, except for one thing. For a direct, it just takes much more time to prepare those cases. The reason is you have to do everything, create everything from scratch. And my experience is in direct investments, there's a lot of back and forth with the client in terms of their investment decision. If you're investing in a regional center project, many of the documents have already been drafted.
Okay.
Many of the decisions have been made. In fact, as I've said, often the project is already completed. So the direct will always take more time.
So also, direct will take more time to file. But after filing, the timelines are exactly the same. Right, Charles? Once the I-526E is filed, the petition is filed, the timelines remain the same.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Sounds good. All right. So we have one more question from Sandeep. I think we had one question from him earlier already. And we have one more question. No, just a moment. No, okay. Anyways, the question here is, just give me a moment. Yes, his question is, can an H-1B visa holder who is currently already in the US attain the EB-5 status without coming back to India?
Yes and no. That question would have been a routine question until last week. So
yes, I remember reading that report. I guess there is some new bomb that President Trump has thrown, and
so that H-1B visa holder, if it were possible, he made all the decisions and had everything ready. He could file we could file the EB-5 petition and his application for adjustment of status jointly, concurrently, and simultaneously file an application for employment authorization and a travel document. And all of that could be done together. And he would clearly want to do that. Time-wise, legally, there's many advantages to going to adjusting your status in the U.S. if you're already here, for example, in H-1. But last week, again, the Trump administration blew everything up. They said that adjustment of status was something was an exception, that the presumption is that everyone should go home and apply for their immigrant visa, that there will be a few exceptions. Now, and again, just like the gold card, the Trump administration made up just about all of that. If you read what they said, there's virtually no legal basis. Adjustment of status is clearly was never intended to be an exception to the rule. So I believe that will be litigated, and that's going to be litigated in a much stronger way than the gold card litigation. And I'm confident that H-1B holders can still adjust their status here in the U.S.
Okay. So for now, it's just an announcement. It hasn't been enacted into a law yet, right? So for the time being, a person can still remain in the US and apply and get an adjustment of status done. Does it mean that?
Yes. From a legal point of view, I think they'll be able to do so. However, again, like so many things the Trump administration has done, they've sort of messed this up. So we'll go through a certain period of uncertainty. But from a legal point of view, at the end, this is going to work out. So adjustment of status will remain. Because again, the administration did not amend the law. They did not go through the rule-making procedures. They just made a promulgation. But fortunately, President Trump is yet to be anointed king. He's just an elected official, and he too has to obey the law.
Right. Okay. I'm seeing a very interesting question, and I think we'll take this as the last one as we have to go through the formality of the vote of thanks as well. So, this is a very interesting question. Manoj Thakur is asking this question, and he says that let's say a person has an H-1B visa from a company in the US. Okay. Now, this company is in need of funds. And if we invest in this C Corp, it's a C Corp company. This company is in need of funds. It has sponsored this individual on an H-1B visa. Now, if this individual chips in that money for the EB-5 visa and invests it in this C Corp company, can that be converted to an EB-5 visa?
If I understood the question correctly, he is working on an H-1B visa sponsored by a C corporation, and
Correct.
he's invested in the same company. And the answer is, if he has made an investment of at least $800,000 or $1 million, depending upon whether the business is in a targeted economic area, he could still arguably use that investment, even though the investment may have been made over a period of time. Let's say, for example, he invested $500,000, and then it's in a targeted economic area, and he invests an additional $300,000. That could be the basis of his petition.
Now,
So,
wait, Manoj, wait. I'm going to add
yeah.
something to this. So, Charles, you have assumed that the investment was made when the C Corp was formed. But EB-5 investment has to be done in a new enterprise. What the question is that the C Corp is already there, the employee is working, and now he wants to put $800,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it will qualify for it.
Unless that owner makes him a co-owner and then he invests 800, even then it's not
It has to
possible.
be a new enterprise, and the new jobs have to be created.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It does depend upon when the investment was made. That is
Yes,
true.
correct.
All right. All right. Okay. Okay. So I think we'll wrap it up with that. Most of the questions I seem to have answered, and of course there are questions around wanting to reach out to you, Charles and Dipesh. So I guess we will share contact details of both the panelists after this event. And of course, if I may have missed any questions, we'll take those as well and we'll answer them offline. So, before I hand it over to my colleague Tejinder for the vote of thanks, I just think I want to make some closing remarks, and I want to firstly thank both of you, Charles, Dipesh, for this immense clarity that you have brought and your data-driven insights, into a topic that is often clouded by speculation. So, to summarize this overarching takeaway from today, 2026 year is the year of action, not of hesitation. And with these critical deadlines of 30 September 2026 and 2027 looming on the horizon, the window for predictable, structured cross-border planning is at a premium. So whether you're looking at this for your business expansion, folks, or you want to secure an unencumbered corporate future for your children, the time here is the ultimate variable. And for those of you who are serious about acting on today's insights, I will highly encourage you to go ahead and reach out to our panelists. And with that, I would now like to hand it over to my colleague and partner, Tejinder Oberoi, Vice President of the Indo-American Chamber Western Region, to deliver the official vote of thanks. Tejinder, over to you.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As we come close to the close of this insightful and engaging session, it is my privilege to propose a vote of thanks. On behalf of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce West India Council, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speakers, especially Mr. Charles Foster, who made it early in the morning from Houston. and Mr. Dipesh Deshmukh, our own council member, for great insights, for their valuable knowledge, for their expertise and their perspective on the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program and investment-led opportunities in the US. Your insights have been truly helpful for our participants, and our participants gain a clearer understanding of the subject and evolve global landscape surrounding it. I would also like to express our heartfelt appreciation for our moderator, our own Mr. Manoj Balwani, for leading today's discussion so effectively and ensuring an engaging and thought-provoking interaction throughout the session. Special thanks to Mr. Jagdeep Aluwalia of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Greater Houston, for connecting us with Mr. Charles Boston and in proposing this program. A special note of thanks to IACC WIC Secretariat Vishnu and Parva for their dedicated efforts behind the scene in organizing and executing this session smoothly. I'd like to thank all members, guests, delegates, and participants for joining us and making this webinar a meaningful and interactive session through your enthusiastic participation and engagement. At IACC, we remain committed to fostering meaningful dialogue, strengthening Indo-US business relations, and creating platforms that bring together knowledge, opportunities, and collaboration. We hope today's webinar has been valuable and enriching for you all. I take this opportunity to invite our guests to propose topics on which they would like us to bring special speakers and discuss. So we would be happy to bring in those specialists on this platform, which happens every fortnight, and speak on the subject. Thank you once again for your presence and support. We look forward to welcoming you every fortnight on this program and other IACC initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like to add, it's my privilege to be on the same platform as Charles Foster. He is very big in this industry. He's a very senior person in this industry, and I feel blessed that I'm able to speak next to him. Thank you so much, Charles, for doing whatever you've been doing for the immigration space.
Well, thank you very much for your kind remarks, and I hope we have a chance to work together.
Certainly, certainly.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening and a great day.
Bye.